Well, welcome everyone to episode number 183 here in the Passport to Growth. Dave Rudine, Lee Lohman, myself, Rich Lohman, all to be here to talk to you all about the lesson on everyday essentials for living a life of significance.
Mm-hmm.
Very long title.
Yeah, very long title and a very interesting conversation, because I think I'll start it off by saying I think this has the potential, if people take their growth seriously in this, all of us, this isn't just like, hey, you guys do this and you guys do this, but all of us take our growth very seriously in this. This is a needle moving lesson because of some of the conviction to it. What do you think, Dave?
Listen, I go back to, like, I talk about this all the time, and I feel like I've talked about it a lot in the last couple of weeks with some different groups I've been a part of, and opportunities to teach. But yeah, I think the search for and building a life of significance, it's that old thing that once you taste significance, success will never satisfy. And I think, I just think that's it's the ultimate goal. I think about it like in the 5 levels of leadership, where we talk about level 4 is really what we aspire to. We want to be leadership. We want to develop people. We want to be people developers. And I think in this realm, I think significance that's the mark. That's what we're really shooting for. Not just success. And Kevin Myers wrote that book, Home Run, and he talked about, people need to win in 4 areas. You want to win with yourself, first base, win with the someones in your life, second base. You want to win success, that's third base. But then a home run is when you're winning in significance and you're doing something beyond yourself that will outlast you, has a legacy kind of a thing to it. It's making a difference, not just that impacts you, but it impacts others. I think that's the line. And then I look at it from the other side too, as a person of faith, I think that significance, I have a very clear definition about what that means. I think that there's a spiritual realm to that. But even for people that are not people of faith or not spiritual, I still think significance is the aim. It's what are you doing beyond yourself? So,
right. Yeah, that's a great start to it. What are your thoughts?
Similar. I see a growing theme where Dave steals what I was going to
do. We're going to start letting you go first, so that you can
Yes.
steal his thunder.
So I read that self-centeredness and fulfillment cannot peacefully coexist. They're incompatible. And what that means is if you're selfish, you can't add value to other people. So if you're totally thinking inside yourself and what's in it for me type mentality, then you can't grow in your significance. And I found where there were 3 modes that people wake up in the morning with. And the first one is survival.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is success. And then the last one is significance. And so my notes were basically like, what motivates you when you get up in the morning? And if it's survival, that's fine, because we're all in that mode on certain days. Even if we are living a life of significance, there are days when we're just in survival mode.
Yeah, fight or flight. Sometimes it's just yeah.
And if we're only focusing on our own success, my question was, then what? Once you reach a level of success, then what? What are you going to do with that? And it doesn't mean that success is bad, but my notes say the reality is that people must achieve a certain amount of success before they're ready for significance. They need to have found themselves, achieved something, and made something valuable before they're able to give something to other people.
That's awesome. Like, that was awesome, because I find myself as a coach challenging people to not be so into themselves. And that forces me to think and back up and say, hold on, they need to be into themselves enough to actually achieve something, because I deal with so many younger people that they haven't really tasted success yet. And I want them to see what significance is like, but that's because I live trying to live a significant life.
And I think we all hate the word balance, but there's a fine line.
Yeah.
And you have to work on yourself. You have to think of yourself. You have to, work on your own goals and what's going to be right for you and then therefore your family. But I think there's a fine line in taking it too far where that's your only goal.
Yeah.
And not enough of how can I pour into others and bring them along with me.
Yeah. I'm reminded of the opening line. I don't know if you've read The Purpose Driven Life before. The opening line, chapter 1, line 1, it says, he opens the book with, "It's not about you." It's the whole tone. It's not about you. And I think that's what starts to speak about significance is when you can understand it. You could take that journey and you got to grow yourself. So you got to make it about yourself. It's the oxygen mask concept. You got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So you got to grow yourself, but you don't do that alone. You do it with other people. And I think that's where you start to say, hey, it's not about just you. There's other people in it. And then together you can become successful. That's kind of third base idea. But that's not the home run. The home run, you don't win by staying at third base. You win by bringing it home, and that's significance. And so I think that's why we were talking about purpose in our last lesson, putting your purpose into action. And I think when you say I want to be, Lee, I think what you just said that's the way to say it is you want to be successful for what? Like for what purpose? Just for yourself? Even if you say, I want to be successful because I want to pass on something to other people. Okay, well, there's a significance to that. It's a legacy kind of a thing, and outlast you type of mentality where you're recognizing it's not just for me so that I can get the accolades, I can get the recognition, I can get the power and the money, and
Yeah, I'm almost envisioning a casket with a person in it with all their money laying around them. I did this for me and I'm taking it all with me.
holding on. Try to adjust.
No, you're fine. I like, parking and thinking about it. That whole self-centeredness is the root of virtually every problem. And I like the actual word root in there. Yeah. Because we have to look at cause and effect and say, what are our problems in our world? And when we say the root of the problem is self-centeredness, so either mine or somebody else's, but that's what it really comes down to. And I think that's extremely relevant in the days we live in today, where, it's both for us personally and globally around the world.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think I have long contended and that the reason for relational breakdowns, the number one reason, is selfishness.
Yeah.
It's because somebody's not willing to either compromise or learn from the other person or meet them part way or give more than you get. And the minute you start doing that, you lose. Relationships break down, marriages fall apart, families get damaged because you're making it about you, not about the other person.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like there's a growth journey just in my world right now. Dave, we talked a little bit in our last lesson about Global Leadership Summit, and the theme about that was so into relationships. Even though there was talks about soundtrack and about how do you improve yourself, the theme was evolved around relationships. In this lesson series that we're in of being intentional, about going out and fostering better relationships and adding value to people, all those kind of things. I feel like there's a growth journey that everybody could have right now that moves us away from that selfishness, moves that away from that self-centeredness, if we make those intentional steps and really go do it. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting for me to see how, I've got some great ideas that are, simmering right now, based on growth because of what we're doing. So should we jump into the benefits? You ready to kick it off for us?
Well, I'll start with the quote at the top. People who are intentional take the advice of my mentor, John Wooden, make every day your masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I think if we have that as the intention that we set at the beginning of our days, we will reap the benefits.
Yeah.
So the first benefit is you will develop a greater appreciation for other people. Stopping and focusing on who are we grateful for, who adds value to us in our lives, and who leads us.
Yeah.
And making that list and trying to just develop our own list that shifts our focus and our mindset to who are we grateful for, who has added value to us, and who has given to us to try to make us a better person and made an impact on our lives. I think that that's really, why wouldn't you want to turn around and do the same thing for someone else? But
Yeah.
if you start with appreciating those people who have done that for you, then I think it's a natural course of action that you want to then turn around and be able to be one of those people for someone else.
Yeah, I think another thread of this that came to mind for me was it's making that shift to understanding and viewing people not as a means to an end. Like you don't use people for your purpose. You appreciate them for who they are. Learn to really appreciate other people. So they're not just a way to get what you want, that you're appreciating who they are, making it about them. And then understanding, yeah, because you can't do it alone.
Right.
You stay on first base and grow yourself, that's great, but you're not going to get to success or significance just on your own, that you're going to have to include those someones in your life. And that comes down to that. It's just appreciating the value that other people bring.
Yeah, I put a post that was, a purpose-driven post based on some of our past lessons of when we graduated or whatnot from the John Maxwell IMC back in 2013. And in the threads of the comments, my third grade teacher made a comment in there. And it was a back and forth trade of, she saw me as a leader back then in third grade. And again, I was just trying to encourage people, even if it takes you 40 years to find your purpose, as long as you have breath in your lungs, you're still on your journey to find what you're here for. And that's where significance can kick in, is once you know what you're here for. Well, yeah, I said, she said, I saw you as a leader in third grade. I said, I saw you as a catalyst to me being a leader because of what you did to pour into me. And thank you for that. And that's the trait of significance. It wasn't about me. It was about trying to say, thank you, Mrs. Hausman, for being an awesome third grade teacher. Because I've started my list and thought about old hockey coaches, some guys from Tennessee, but natural friends that are locally clients that are part of, my appreciation for what other people have done for me. Dave, what you have done for me, for us, within our friendship, again, that's part of the journey, is to be able to show those kind of appreciations.
Mm-hmm.
So as it flows, the second benefit is you will ask to hear other people's stories, because again, you have appreciation for people. Now, what's their story? And I really do, think that this is a huge benefit that we could all reap if we sow some questions, if we want to know what their struggles are in their life right now, or what are the big struggles that they've had in defining moments of their life where all of a sudden, like an IMC was a catalyst to my changes that I went through. But, what becomes people's hopes and dreams. And that is so about other people that it pulls us so far away from self-centeredness, selfishness, that we start to move to significance.
Yeah.
What motivates them? That's been something for me this week that has been a popular thing, is understanding that motivation truly is an internal pull. It can never be from external means. Where some people say money motivates me, I'm like, there's something inside of you that craves money, but it's inside of you that is craving it.
Yeah.
I think that when you learn someone's story, it opens up your grace bucket more than anything. Like,
Wow.
most of the time you can sit more so in judgment of someone because they might act in a certain way, or they might talk to you or have a different tone or something, where you're, taken aback and you automatically determine, like, we're going to base things on first or second impressions, then I don't like that person. I just don't mesh with them well. But I have found over the course of my life that the more I learn their story and try to understand who they are, the more grace I can offer them, because, this is what they've gone through, or, this is something that has really carved out a piece of who they are. And I think it offers a lot more empathy
Uh,
when we
And you just stole my word. And
yeah, because I went first.
but that really goes into the next one. The next benefit is that you put yourself in other people's shoes. And I think that's where I think that's leading. When you understand and you take the time and when you're learning their stories, I think that opens up that grace bucket, idea. And it opens up that door to say, all right, I get you from a different perspective now. And you're more easily able to put yourself in their shoes. And that's the whole seek to understand before seeking to be understood. So when you can, I love that idea of asking to hear people's stories. I just think that's one of the most fun things about relationships, about meeting new people. It's just to tell me your story, and ask them maybe something specific. How did you get to that point? How did you get into this line of work? Why did you choose that? Why did you move here? And that was the whole Larry King thing. That was he said that was his favorite question to ask, was why. Somebody would say something, he'd say, why? Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Just keep probing a little bit more. And you get to the heart of people, start to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And I just think that's powerful. And so then you can demonstrate empathy, and you can really get, like, I see what your pathway has been to where now we've just crossed pathways.
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers said, there isn't anyone you couldn't learn to love once you've heard their story.
There you go.
And I truly believe that.
Won't you be my neighbor? That makes me think of Jerry across the street, where he's got some gruffness to him. But at the same time, like, I know his story and I can't not love him, like,
Right.
for what he's endured, for his tours in Vietnam, for so much, despite his gruff nature.
I remember the first time I met him, he went to an open house of a house that I had listed, and I texted you and said, there's a creepy, crabby guy this is the address I'm at. There's a creepy, grumpy guy at this open house, just so that he knew I wasn't by myself. There was this person, and he's not even creepy.
No,
He's just different.
Yeah.
And so I judged him, and I needed to open up my grace bucket, and maybe not at that particular point in our relationship. But once I learned his story, I was like, ooh,
yeah,
it's kind of
but that's
humbling.
the convicting and humbling on us, which is sometimes just the right measure of awareness and grace and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, and in the B-roll, we all talked about how this lesson was probably more for us than it was for anyone else.
I hope that, as this lesson unfolds, this is what we struggle with, and we're all struggling with it. So as you guys are listening, if it's convicting to you too, welcome to the journey. So the next one is, you will place other people's interests at the top of your priority list. And this really does start to shift into even what John's quote was, which, the end of it is, make every day your masterpiece. And this talks about reaping versus sowing. What is your agenda for the day? If you are looking for the benefit of putting others at the top of your priority list, then you're looking to sow, in the words of Add Value, sow into giving them something, a nudge, a push, some help and encouragement, whatever it is, so that they can be successful, because that's what significance is. Mm-hmm. Versus just getting up and saying, what is mine to gather today? What am I going to get? What am I going to accomplish?
Yeah, this is what Robert Greenleaf, if you look him up, and he wrote a lot about, I think it was the early 70s, about servant leadership in the business world. And of course, there's another guy that wrote about it a couple thousand years ago, but I digress. But there was he really helped champion that in the arena of the marketplace and leadership, and basically saying lead from that perspective of putting the other person's agenda ahead of yours, your teammates and your employees. Like, what can I do? You want it to be a win for them. And that's what servant-hearted leadership is all about. But that's significance,
So that's interesting because, there was I don't know why I want to say this right now, but there was a turning point where, the media started reporting the massive profits of CEOs, maybe back in the early 2000s. And, I feel like that was a turning point where everybody became like, yeah, look at how much money they're getting. So it became that I'm going to go get mine. Where we did start as a society in the early 2000s becoming more selfish. I don't think social media helped us at all, because we're all about our own likes and, what we say to other people, to make them feel better. So like, this is the lesson that gives us a turning point to the other direction. There's one more benefit. You will make winning a group activity.
Yeah.
That's what we want Passport to Growth to be, right?
Yeah.
Is this group activity of growth of individuals to add value to other people.
Right.
At the risk of him hearing me because he's home, I noticed something with my son when he was on one soccer team versus another soccer team. So when he's with players that don't challenge his ability, he's all about himself and how he's the best player on the team, and he has a totally not appropriate mindset mentality. He gets bumped up to a higher team, and all of a sudden it became all about the team. He's got it. He stepped up. He played way better. And I was like, what was the difference for you, bud? Because that's a different soccer player than the one I see on the other time. And he's like, I couldn't let my team down. I was playing with better players and I couldn't let them down. Like, our team had to be. And I was like, that's the mentality that you need. And no matter what team, but he found it. So I was proud of him. But I just kind of thought in that particular sense, he made winning or playing well a group activity because he didn't want to let his team down, which was different than the prior.
Well, yeah, that's a great example. That's servant leadership, where you're saying I'm doing this for the benefit of everybody, not just myself. And we all needs to be a win-win. We all need to walk away victorious on this. And that's not as opposed to the win-loss of what a lot of leaders like. I win and you have, in order for me to win, you have to lose, but yeah, that's servant heart leadership. That's what significance is all about. You're right. Good.
Yeah. So let's jump into the characteristics. There's 5 actually very simple characteristics that we all can embody and develop that will help us lead more of a significant life and shift from just trying to be successful ourselves. Go ahead with the first one.
The first one is these people value people every day. So when you talk about simple, then yes, we add value or we see value in people every day. And it doesn't have to be something that's large or expensive or, for lack of a better word, significant, when it could just be paying attention to someone, listening when they're talking, like just making sure that, because most people don't feel valued. They don't feel like they're very valuable. I have someone in my life that has said to me on a number of occasions, I just want to feel like I'm important. And it's, some of that we can do something about, some of it we can't, but we can, pour into people and make sure that they feel like we see them for who they are, which is a valuable person, because we're all God's children. And
there's an interesting conversation, around personality type that goes with this also, though, that, some personality types would be more interested in tasks than adding value to people. It doesn't mean they don't value people, but their actions don't show valuing people. It shows getting the task done, and that's a success model, not a significance model whatsoever. So some people are naturally predisposed to not look like they value people, and that's what their growth journey is. There's other people that value people so much that they add value to people despite their own well-being. yeah, beyond their own well-being. So personality does play into this right away. Also, we can't not say leaders in our world that are struggling with putting profits above people to a degree that it's detrimental to adding value to people. That's the other way I look at this is, be careful if you're driving for performance so much that it's unhealthy for your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a good starting point. Now, Dave, go ahead with the second characteristic.
Second one is to think ahead about ways to, you think about ways to add value to people. So you're thinking ahead, planning out your day. I think it's, I do like that idea of when you wake up in the morning and you look at your calendar and you say, who am I going to meet with today? What meetings do I have? What interactions do I anticipate, let alone the people that you don't anticipate? But just saying, doing a little mental checklist, how am I going to be able to add value to them? What can I do? What can I bring to this instead of the reverse? What am I going to get out of this thing? And it goes back to what we were saying, the benefits before is when you live with that mentality of listening for other people, listening to those stories. I think that's where you find that you learn ways to add value. They become known,
This reminds me of the conversation that Warren Buffett and Bill Gates were having, and one of the two gentlemen said, busy is the new stupid. And it's just going on to say that when you get busy every morning in your own agenda, you don't have time to stop and think. And I know that we've talked about that. We've done entire lessons and series on thinking for a change. And this is just one of those times to think about your calendar and about other people, not about yourself. So it just needs to become a habit. But if you're too busy to make a new habit, it's very difficult to shift from success to significance.
Yep.
So the third one is these people look for ways to add value to people every day. Now, that's different than thinking about adding value to people. Now they're looking for it, which, really just is advancing it. It's taking it a step further because these are steps in a cycle to truly adding value to people.
Yeah, I think it's what do you think? What are you thinking about? What's the focus of your attention? And you were talking about buying a car. And I think there's a little bit of that idea of when you buy a new car, then you start seeing that car all over the place. Oh, they bought that same car. Oh, there's the same car I got. And it's not that they weren't there before. It's not like people didn't need value before. It's just now you're becoming aware because you're focused on it. And I think that's when you're looking for ways, it's because you're focused on how can I add value to other people. That's where that's I think how that plays out usually.
Ed Milet teaches about your reticulated activator system.
Reticular activation system.
Yeah, what he said. So, but that's where you're looking for something or something is brought to the forefront of your mind. And so then you see it everywhere. It's the car, it's the tennis shoes, it's the person in need. When you've brought that to and you're hyper aware of it, then you can think of ways and look for ways to add value to people. I think the difference between number 2 and number 3 is that number 2 is you're thinking ahead because you're looking at your calendar about what's already pre-planned in your day. But number 3, when you look for ways, is that there are opportunities that pop up throughout your day that you could add value to someone if you have that mindset
100%.
that weren't originally on your calendar.
Let me give you an example. Last night, I was leaving the event at your office, and I walked down the steps and I had to go around a building. And walking towards me was a friend of ours that is one of Lee's partner's wives. And so here comes John's wife. And I'm like, hey, why weren't you at the event? And she's like, why were you at the event? And there was a back and forth of, are you a member of the chamber? I'm not a member of the chamber. I'm like, I was a +1 for somebody that was there. And we went back and forth. But in that moment, I realized she wasn't there to see her husband speak on behalf of the entire company. And I was impressed with how simple and elegant his delivery was in thanking and being so gracious to the chamber, because it was a great turnout. And I said, you missed it. I have to tell you, your husband absolutely rocked a simple, elegant speech. And she looked and she said, that's so nice of you. Thank you for sharing that. Because I don't know that John would have shared that with Lynn, because he's too humble to be able to want to do that. But that's an example of how, when your mindset is right, in the moment, you're passing somebody on the street and you get to add value to them about something their significant other did.
Yeah. I think what we look for, we find.
Yeah.
No, because the reverse of that is true. If you think and you have a mindset that everybody is grumpy and crotchety and got bad attitudes, I mean, that's what you're going to find. If you think everybody's against you and everybody's got an axe to grind against you, that's what you're going to find. That's what you're going to see. So I think you reverse that into the positive. You say, and I want to look for ways. I believe that everybody has value, and I want to add value to them. And when you think that way, you'll find those things.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so go ahead with the next
Number
one.
4 is these people do things that add value to people every day. So we can set the wishful thinking is different than action. So it's taking action on not just saying, okay, so I'm going to set my intentions or my good intentions on doing something nice for this person at this appointment that I have, or this person at this appointment. It's actually taking the intention of doing it and making it an actionable item, and actually doing it. Actually.
I love good intentions don't produce results.
Right.
Mhm.
It's just like such a punchy, profound statement that really says we all have the best of intentions, or at least I hope we do. But good intentions aren't enough.
Right.
And the other thing, the 5th one, is these people encourage others to add value to people every day. It's great that we do it, and we could be successful at living a significant life, but a community is born, a tribe is born, a world is born, where we invite other people on that journey and really challenge them.
Isn't that the thread that we've tried to nail down and drive through everything that we do? What are you learning? What are you applying? Who are you sharing this with?
Yeah.
I just taught yesterday about the law of reflection. And that's one of the things that John Maxwell talks about. The end of your day is ask today, what did I learn? What am I going to apply? Who am I going to pass this on to? And I think when you take that into the realm of significance and adding value, yeah, it's not a solo sport. And I think that's the ripple that we're called to make, is not just learn this, not just do it ourselves, but that's that 4th level of leadership, is now where you're developing other people to do it. That's the game. That's the game right there. Otherwise, you just stop at success, and you're successful, but you've not encouraged other people. You've not developed the next wave of that, who will develop the next wave of that, who will develop the next wave of that, So I think that's why this one's so great, that number 5 there.
Yeah, powerful lesson. Let's go to steps to follow. Let's really bring it home by giving, every one of us an opportunity to look at what we can do to carry it forward. Go ahead.
The first one kind of goes back to some of the benefits of when we're learning to appreciate people. Ask yourself the question, who makes your list? If you're going to take the time to write out a list of people you appreciate, people who have poured into you, people that you're grateful for, everybody's got somebody,
right?
And so make that list and write out the things that you're grateful for about them, because that shifts your mindset into the attitude of being grateful or
Yeah.
expressing gratitude.
Yeah.
And then if you are so inclined, take it a step further and write a little note to them, or even send them a text message that
Yeah.
said, look, you made this a tremendous impact on me, and I just really wanted to say thank you for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that you'll make everybody's day if you do that.
Yeah, it's profound, but that is the truth. Is I've done that a couple times with a couple of old hockey coaches, and what it meant to them to know that they made a difference by coaching back in their day. At their season of life, it brings them pure joy. And who doesn't want to bring somebody pure joy?
Right.
The next one is to look for clues in people's stories, which again, it's make it your goal to ask at least one person to tell you their story this week. Mike Rosso sent me a thank you, or sent me a private message, and it was from a post that he was expressing gratitude for our relationship on social media from 2016. I'm like, that's awesome, brother. I like a good, but in it, I said, how are you doing right now? Can you tell me how things are going with the transition to full-time fatherhood? What's Jen got going on, and how is Peyton doing in the move? And he told me this whole story, so that I know that Jen's she's stressing out over taking her board exam on Monday, and what he's got going on with Peyton and how the house is going. I got to hear a story today already, because I looked for the clue that he sent me something, and I know he's going through a transition. So it doesn't have to be a hard thing for us to do. We just have to be consciously looking for who can we ask. Tell me what's going on.
Mhm.
Yep.
What's the last one, Dave?
Last one here. So here's the last maybe step to follow, is to figure out ways to harness your success for significance. So think about, I think my idea on this would be to figure out what are those open doors that you have. What's the platform that you have? Maybe you have a position, maybe you're in a leadership role, maybe you've got influence over some people. And then figure out how can you leverage that opportunity to demonstrate and be significant, adding value into others, and do something for their benefit. So I think it's just a matter of that. Like, hey, I've been good at this. I'm at the top of my game in this, or I've got this. People listen to me over here, and so I think it's a matter of identifying. If the first one is you're identifying those people that have been significant to you, this is what are those arenas where you have a mouth. You have a mouthpiece. You have a bully pulpit, so to speak, to kind of lead, to speak into others.
So I think about social media, private groups, or that kind of thing. I think about the gym. I think about going to church. I think about so many things, but I want us to think about where are those
places?
Pipelines of being able to add value to people. So great lesson. Again, I came in here both convicted and challenged that this is that needle moving lesson for me personally. Thank you to both of you for adding to it. And now we turn it over to our tribe and say, help us make this world a better place through, shifting from our own success to adding value to people and significance. So,
yeah.
All right, guys, have a great rest of the day, and we will see you in another lesson.